what it's promoting is the free expression of ideas and the kind of building up of courage to really put forth something, to really just kind of stick your neck out towards something that you want to share about, instead of being like, oh my gosh, like, can I say that? Like, will they think I'm dumb? Like, is that worth saying? Like, is everyone just smarter than me? Like, all those things that, we get absorbed with in conversation, like, that just seems to kind of wither away when you have this open forum where not only are you given the freedom to express yourself and to share, but like I was talking about this with Aspasia the other day, and she was talking about how her YouTube channel, she really sees it as, and I said the same thing about mine, is like, she really sees it as like a way for her to act on her impulses of curiosity, of like finding someone online and not just kind of lurking in the shadows and like passively like appreciating, but being like, oh, I want to talk to you. And it's like the conversations that come out of that are great and beautiful, but the act of doing that is also instantiating a certain way of being in the world where you actually follow your own curiosities instead of kind of just noticing them passively, and just kind of letting them come and letting them kind of just pass. And I think it's this very like thymotic kind of like energy drive of like, hey, I'm actually going to go and place myself in that forum or that room or that conversation or whatever, because we recognize that we need it to like be human. But anyways, I'll pass it back.
Absolutely magnificent. For me, the best use of YouTube is not as content creation, although content must be created to have this function. What you're doing is using your channel to communicate your ground to other people per se, or where you're coming from, so that they know you, so you can have more efficient, well, you can just jump right in. You're overcoming what we've talked about before is the introduction problem. All in human history, it has taken freaking forever to get through introductions to get to the flow, right? And if I have 10 people in a room, the problem becomes basically insurmountable, because I have to overcome the introduction problem with all 10 of them. Oh, and by the way, all 10 of them have to overcome the introduction problem with one another. So the time use extends into infinity on what would be possible to bring it together. You could basically only do it with local communities and churches meeting every week, or local bands for people with a skill, right? So you have an introduction problem. Well, now we can all get a sense of one another on our time quite effectively, so that when we come into conversation, we already have a sense of where people are coming from, where we can meet them, what they're kind of thinking. So you're accelerating the overcoming of the introduction problem, which has always been the #1 inhibitor of human flow, and also field exchange and energy exchange, etc., so forth, right? So what you're doing, it's almost like other connect. It's not really YouTube. It's more like OtherTube. It's like, it's a Silk Road. I mean, Vervaeke talks about Silk Roads. When you read the, Peter's book out of Oxford, Quinn, a lot of human history has been a product of these intersection of pathways. And really, yes, what you're doing is you're creating a kind of node, a kind of a stop, a kind of signal of, hey, this is what I do, I'm putting this up, and you have a sense of who the people are, right? And there's a way that it can accelerate relationships because you're overcoming the introduction problem, right? And I think viewing YouTube is very important to see it that way, because then you also escape the content creation burnout, right? Where you're trying to get clicks and you're trying to do all of that different stuff, which then just feeds into perhaps cloud capital, or whatever term one wants to use.